So the festive season is meant to be a time to unwind with your loved ones, relax and forget about the year's worries. And for some, it's a dark period that can bring what is known as holiday blues, holiday depression. Now, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, SADAG, says it's inundated with calls from people who are overwhelmed and desperately need help this season. But what could be the triggers of feelings like this at this time of year specifically? For more on the story, we're joined this morning by Tracy Feinstein, who is SADAG's call center manager. Tracy, great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. I mean, there's a whole range of issues, right, that can trigger, particularly at this time of year, holiday blues. What's your experience of it?
So, you know, there are a lot of different triggers, and I think it's different for everybody, and that is why it's so important to talk about it. It's been a busy year, a hectic year, and there's been a lot of changes. I think a lot of people are still trying to get through to adjusting to a hybrid work model. Sadly, people lost jobs in this past year. And of course, there's always the sad tragedy of trauma, loss of loved ones. These are the times where, you know, people tend to reflect on what has happened in the year. And then also they start to think about, you know, what will the new year bring about? And these events that have occurred in our life, which unfortunately for a lot of times we cannot change, it means that we need to give time, we need to think about them, and that's why making a phone call to SADAG, chatting to a counsellor, often helps to put it into perspective and then also find out where you can get help.
Yeah, I think it's not, I mean, from what you're saying, it's not just about the fact that it's the Christmas season. It's also, as you say, it's that straddle between the end of the year, the new year, what have I achieved in the year gone by, you know, what's in store for me, for my family, for my career in the year to come.
That's very true. And, you know, we think of students and scholars. It's that time of the year, you know, they may be waiting for exam results. So besides being quite a heavy time of the year because people may not have achieved and they've had real big challenges to face, it also becomes an anxious time. And it's very easy to let all the thoughts, all those what-if thoughts spin around in your head. And so some of the things that we have to do is try and create a routine that is very suitable to you as an individual. I think as well for parents to give support to children, both in letting them feel less anxious, and then secondly, giving them hope and giving them motivation for how to plan the new year. And perhaps one of the things that people can think about is not always to set such massive, big and long-term goals, especially if you're the type of person who may have been battling depression or another mental illness. Rather do things that work for you. Go back to the basics, you know, thinking of routine, sleep, a bit of exercise, good nourishment, and then also setting smaller goals, things that you can do and actually achieve.
Yeah.
Because I think we let ourselves down when we tend to think, okay, next year I'm going to get a job. And that stuff is very much out of your control. So maybe rephrasing that, but still trying to get the same desire. And that's where, you know, chatting to a counselor can actually be really helpful.
Yeah.
And that's why our lines are open 24/7, and counselors are on standby to try and help people to navigate these challenges.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there about a new way of goal setting. And I wonder if that's the kind of advice that you would give, particularly parents of, shall we say, matric students, to maybe, to end of the year, do something like a vision board and focus on what you have achieved this year, and then do that goal-setting exercise for 2023, and to, as you say, make them reasonable, attainable goals, things that you can work towards that are in your control.
I think that that's so important. You know, we're talking about managing our mental health. And, you know, it's good to have dreams, not so. But I think it's really important in managing those dreams and having goals that are realistic. Because when we are not achieving, when we're not seeing the fruition of those vision boards and the goal setting, it creates that level of anxiety that can often become very overwhelming, and that's not what we want for our mental well-being. I think also for people who have had a diagnosis of a mental illness and are also, you know, going through this holiday period managing their mental illness, remember things like don't go drinking during the festive season now as the new year's about to start. You know, it doesn't matter what illness and what medication you're taking. You shouldn't be mixing it with alcohol. So know what your limitations are. Set boundaries to protect your mental well-being. We know as well that a lot of our hospital and clinic resources, nurses and doctors are stretched. You know, they also need a holiday. So we often find there's skeleton staff in the hospital facilities. And therefore, this is not only about going to a doctor and getting yourself fixed up. And it's more about providing you with a package solution, a treatment plan that includes therapy. It includes your own lifestyle changes. And I think those are so important for us to just freeze frame, you know, these last few days of the year and say, what am I really doing to take care of my own mental well-being?
So would you say that it's not just people? I mean, obviously, if you have been diagnosed with a mental illness, you might be more prone to feeling the kind of holiday blues that we've been discussing this morning. But it doesn't mean that it's confined to people who have a confirmed condition, right?
Very much. And I think this is the challenge that we're facing. And again, you know, I want to say that, you know, depression and anxiety, those are real illnesses. And whilst you could be in your 30s, your 40s, you could even be in your 60s, but a life event could trigger the onset of depression. So early diagnosis, early support, and early intervention is really helpful in settling this so it doesn't become debilitating and land up into that place where a person says, I can't manage this any longer and I don't want to be around. And I think that that's part of the challenge that we face when we talk about mental illness is that it can hit at any particular time. You know, even business people, even people who have got good jobs and are successful, they're also prone to a level of stress that can push them over the edge and can push them into a phase where they are actually seeing the real warning signs of depression. So early intervention, don't think that you are above mental illness. And I think getting support and phoning SADAG, you know, the counselors who are all volunteers are well trained in giving you different options of what could be the best and the most suitable treatment plan for yourself.
Yeah.
So they're able to tell you what to do when you go to see a doctor or a mental health expert. They're able to guide you with some of the questions that you should ask. And I think at this point in time, while we're in the holiday period, when you are battling to get an appointment, make notes each day. How are you feeling? What are you battling with? So that when you do see the doctor, you actually are armed with information that is going to be helpful to the doctor to give you the right diagnosis.
You've alluded to it now, Tracy, the issue of suicide, and it's an issue throughout the year. But is there a spike around this time of year?
So there's no spike at this time of the year. But I think what we are a lot more aware of is that thanks to the media like yourselves, we're able to get the word out that suicide is it's a tragic end to a very temporary situation often. Of course, over the past year on social media, we've been exposed to, name people who have ended their lives tragically. And I think the important thing is that if somebody is feeling in that really dark space and they're feeling and their thoughts in their mind are like, I can't do this anymore, I don't want to be here, make the call to SADAG. Reach out, get help. Because very often getting you into therapy, getting you onto medication and putting a level of perspective back into your life, which will help you perhaps just take another step for another day, just may save a life. And it's tragic to lose anybody to suicide. So therefore we have our counselors on standby. We are available and we want to save lives. We want to help people. And I know that during this holiday season, our counselors, our services throughout the day and night are available so that people can reach out. And if it's not you phoning for yourself, you may be phoning for a loved one. We'll be able to share ideas and resources with you too.
And in fact, those numbers are on the screen there this morning. The helpline for counselling and information from SADAG are up on your screens at the moment. I wanted to ask you this, Tracy. You said at the start of our interview that your counsellors are, all of them, volunteers. How do they find that support at a time of year where they are inundated with calls from people looking for help?
Yes, it's really tough. And, but these amazing volunteers, a lot of them are students who are going into this industry. We also have other people who, with their life experience, have just freely given their time to want to help. So we do debriefing. Our counselors are all working remotely. So we have WhatsApp chat groups. We share motivation. We give support to them. I have supervisors who are readily available to tap in and guide our counselors to a level of, they get it back, they feel like they have their compassion, that they have their empathy relaunched after a really difficult call. So we constantly are vigilant, we're aware, we have a lot of support structures in place for our counselors. But of course it's difficult and, we're all seeing what's happening on the media at the moment, the tragic loss of so many lives after what's happened in Gauteng with the gas explosion. And even our counselors, they're not immune to that. So we're dealing with human lives, both from our callers to our counselors. And in every way, shape and form, we have regular support structures that make sure that the people who need to be uplifted feel that they are supported from us as well.
Well, let me thank you for your time this morning, Tracy, and for the incredible work that you and all of those incredible counsellors do at SADAG. The numbers on your screen, yet again, if you do feel like you need some help over the festive season period, please do give SADAG a call. It is 0800 567 567. That's one of the numbers there. And Tracy Feinstein is SADAG's call centre manager.